After a beer tasting for their wedding, I interviewed my friends Myles and Emily about their relationship. Then I hired professional Hollywood actors to act out the stories they told me.
Myles got a job at Mimi's Cafe as a host? I was about to say hostess.
Yeah.
You're a host, not a hostess.
Yeah.
And then I was a server at the time.
She was kind of like the popular server that everyone wanted to talk to, and she had all these friends, and she was really cute. And then Ashley Simpson was really big at the time, so she kind of like had the same haircut as her too. It was embarrassing. They were going over with me like, this is where you put like the towels, this is where you put like the forks and the crayons, and this is where the menus go and everything. And I was like, this sucks. It's bringing sides of ranch to people that don't deserve sides of ranch, you know? And every single person thinks they're entitled to their side of ranch. Well, they're not, you know? Like, you have to earn it. And I remember her coming in, and she had like this gigantic purse. She always has gigantic purses.
I was like, oh, that's that really cool guy that's like Indian or something. I should go introduce myself. So I went over and I was like, hey, I'm Emily. And he was like, hi, I'm Myles. I shook his hand and I was like, wow, you have really soft hands. He was like, yeah. I was like, cool. We should hang out sometime. He's like, yeah. That's a good plan. Cool.
I was like, oh my God, like this girl works here like full time, like not even part time, full time. It seemed like she was the type of girl like, you're a friend zone, you're a friend zone, you're a friend zone, you're especially a friend zone. And I thought like, oh man, I'm gonna be Mark friend zone. In my mind, I was like, I'm gonna do everything in my power to get at that, like everything. And I did.
It's hard to give you a first official date because we never really had a first official date.
I can tell you the first time that I met up with her and I was like, oh my God, like I actually like this chick. Not like, oh, she's cute. I can tell you that moment. I was at her parents' house and we had just started watching Aladdin. I remember going over to her house because we just wanted a place to hang out. And her mom, Janet, super nice lady. She's very welcoming. Gives me a big hug when I walk in. And I remember meeting Mitch for the first time. Mitch has a strong presence, and it's definitely felt when you meet him. You would shake his hand, you look him in the eye, you know you're talking to Mitch Brandon. You're not talking to anyone else. So I would say, hey, I'm Myles, I'm Emily's friend. It's like, okay, you know, he's kind of like, I can tell like he is thinking that, who is this guy? How did he get into my house? What I wanted to communicate was that I'm serious, I'm committed, and don't get fooled by the, you know, blazer, but I am here to stay. He's a little uneasy, but he's very welcoming and very like, this is my home, come in. And Emily and I are just actually hanging out in her parents' living room. We stumbled upon a copy of Aladdin in VHS form. We're like, what? And this is my favorite Disney movie. So Emily and I sit down and start watching Aladdin. Mitch is actually in the kitchen just kind of fiddle-daddling with, you know, an array of stuff. We kind of hear him in the background. And I remember holding out my hand, just kind of like plopping it on her lap, just kind of gently.
My dad, being the protective Southern father that he is, comes from the kitchen and just gradually moves his head out, creates like a very serious face, and then slowly moved it back. I was like, this guy is just super fun, just super down to earth, really easygoing, and I'm just having a good time with him. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hold his hand.
I remember like looking over at her, and I thought in my head like, oh my God, like I really like this girl. Like this isn't just infatuation. This is something that's actually real. Like I felt legitimately like, wow, I really like this girl. Like right at that moment.
His hand feels like if you were to touch butter. If butter were to have a hand, it would be Myles. And I was like, you know, you're a good time, and I really like you, and your hand feels like butter, so I'm just gonna go ahead and rub it.
I don't know if it was Alan Menken's score from Aladdin or if it was just the animation in conjunction with exactly how I was feeling at the time, but it was something that it was very tangible and I can really, really feel it.
I would say the cruise would be the beginning of the romance.
Yeah. A group of us decided to go on a cruise down to Mexico, just a weekend cruise. And I was super fortunate that Emily decided to go, because I was like, okay, this is my chance. Like, this is when I can, sneak in the first kiss, tell her how I feel, not be too strong about it, but this is my moment. Emily had, the entire time, she had played a very kind of hide and seek type of deal, like where she'd hang out with me on the boat and then she'd completely be gone the next moment and hanging out with her friends.
I was getting ready in the room, like putting my makeup on, getting ready to go out for the evening, and some man walks up and was like, hey, some guy named Myles Scoville bought you guys roses. I was like, oh man, that guy is like obsessed with me. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm just kind of done with this guy. He's a little too much. Like, he's just a little obsessive. Like, I think I'm done at the moment. All the girls were like, yeah, you're right. He's a little too much.
A couple days had passed, and somehow we came across each other in front of our deck quarters. Hey, maybe we should, take like a little...
So I'm eating this cookie dough right now. It's really good.
So that's done. No, by all means.
Hold on.
No, I think
Salmonella.
Hey, you want to take a stroll on like the...
I'm eating cookie dough right now. Okay. We salivate. It's really dry. All right.
Hey, maybe we should, take like a little midnight stroll on the deck, and where it's the coast of Mexico and the full moon's out. We should definitely check it out.
And I was like, yeah, cool. Let's go.
And I was like, yes, like this is it. Like, I'm gonna pull a DiCaprio move right now, and I'm gonna sweep her off her feet.
So we walked to the front of the ship, and it was just like a super windy night. My hair was blowing in the wind, and Miles' hair was blowing in the wind, and my dress was blowing in the wind. It was like, it's really windy outside. I'm like, yeah. He like touched my face. He's like, I really have feelings for you. And I was like, that's cool. He was like, I sent you roses to your room, and I'm really having strong feelings. I'm like, yeah, it's great. Not so much, but that's cool. And then we like slowly kissed. And it was like this weird Titanic kiss where it was like, and I like stuck my arms out, and like Miles was like holding my back, and my hair was just blowing in the wind, and really strong, really solid first kiss.
In my mind, I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe this is happening. This is absolutely exactly what I wanted.
I was like, wow, like, this guy's like a really great kisser, and maybe I'm kind of into him. And then I was like, no, I don't know if I'm that into him. I'm kind of young, and maybe I'm not that into him. And then I was like, no, I think I kind of like this guy. That was the first kiss.
That's the first like official like, all right, let's do this kiss,
Yeah. Miles, like after the cruise, we got back, and then he was like leaving roses on my car and throwing rocks in my window and like being like very like into it.
At that time, she was obsessed with Boston. The entire time we were flirting, talking, and she kept saying like, hey, you're great, but Boston has this. Boston does this. Boston that. Boston this. Boston beans. Boston coffee. Boston donuts. And I was like, shut up about Boston. I hate the Boston Red Sox. They suck. I couldn't tell you like back in the day how much I hated Boston.
And I was like, I'm gonna go to Boston. I don't really care what you do. I'm not interested in a relationship. I just want to go to Boston. That's my plan. I want to be on the East Coast. I want to pretend I'm like in Sex and the City. Miles was like, you know what? That's okay. I know we're young. I know we have like, plans ahead of us, so that's okay.
At the time, I was thinking like, man, like this is a bummer, but she keeps, telling me that she's leaving for Boston, so I'll start dating a couple other people.
So I had found out that Miles had gone out with another girl, and I was a little upset about it. I was like, what? He went out with another girl? Like, that sucks. Like, I know I'm not into him, but I'm kind of that into him.
And she says, hey, we need to have a talk about this. So we meet up in this parking lot to kind of set this record straight.
So I was like, hey, what's up? I found out you went out with some other girl. Like, that kind of sucks. I thought we were together. And he was like, yeah. You know what? You're moving to Boston, so I thought I'd go with this other girl. And I was like, what? That's your face right now. Your face right now is like perfection. So I was like, what? I mean, come on, man. I thought we were like had a thing, like we like had this wind kiss on a boat, and he was like, yeah, I think you're moving to Boston, so I'm attracted to this other woman. And I was like, what? And I was like, you put roses on my car. And he was like, yeah, but they didn't mean anything to you. And I was like, they did. They did mean something to me. He's like, you know what? I threw rocks at your window. And I was like, you know what? It did mean something. I was kind of creeped out, but I'm okay with it now. Okay, here's the deal. You choose me, you choose the other woman.
Unbeknownst to her, I was super excited about this. It was like, whoa, this chick is actually interested in me, and I had no idea that she wanted to even date. She kept talking about Boston the entire time, and I had no idea that she wanted to even stay in Southern California. I looked her square in the eye. I'm like, okay, I'm picking you. Let's do this.
And that was 10 years ago.
Her sis baby, that was pretty big.
Oh, that would be a good thing because I really did love Myles during that period. So I went into the emergency room. This is my third time in the emergency room since I had been sick. And finally the doctor came in. He was like, look, I totally screwed up. This is something we totally missed, but you have a 27 centimeter cyst on your ovary that is the size of a baby at 7 months. I can't believe we missed this. We should probably remove that. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, so we gotta take you in right now. You need to call whoever you need to call, but we gotta go ahead and take you into surgery right now.
And then I get a text from Mitch, and I never get texts from Mitch. And I look at it right away, and Mitch is like, hey, you need to give me a call right now. And so I give him a call, and I'm like, hey, Mitch, what's going on? He's like, hey, not to, concern you or anything, but Emily just is going into emergency surgery. You should get down to the hospital right away. Click. So go in there and I meet, Janet and Mitch, and we we exchange hugs. And I asked him hey, is she okay? Has she gotten everything she needed? What is it? What are the doctors saying? And I was really concerned the doctor came out because this doctor's morbidly obese that's coming out. And I'm always concerned when a morbidly obese doctor is giving a patient advice, health advice. I'm like, dude, you're morbidly obese. What's going on there? She basically says hey, we were able to get it in time. Cut it out real quick. Don't worry, you're good. I remember I high-fived her too and gave her a gangsterling hug and thank you so much. I had been dating this girl for so long because I've been waiting to finish college and get a job, and I was like, I need to marry this girl right now. We have to go through this and end up getting married.
I looked up and I saw Myles standing there, and he was looking at me, and he was just there for me throughout the entire recovery process, and just totally brought me flowers every day and stayed with me and just totally nurtured me back to health. And that's when I really realized, I was like, oh my God, this is maybe the guy that will be there for me.
I remember I would just always say that I loved you and tomorrow's gonna be better than the day before, and I would always tell her that. For me, finding my definition of love was always when I'm absolutely myself. And I've always felt like that with Emily. I've never felt like I've had to be someone else. I learned that a long time ago. Probably not.
Ditto.
But he said. Me and Emily we acted like best friends when we were young. We were literally like buddy buddy.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. When you just have that really strong connection with someone, and you just there's no explanation, there's no definition for it. It's just you just feel this really strong connection with somebody.
There's highs and lows, but it's very nice knowing that you're not in it alone.
Yes.
No.
You just don't really need to look for anything else.
Think about
you don't really need to find anything else.
No.
It's I found it. I'm good.